There are 6 steps to building a winning team culture. Number 1 is you've got to have a compelling vision. Now, we know what the Bible says, right? Without a vision, the people perish, old Habakkuk. And that's good. It's true. And it has a lot more permutations than just business, but it's true in business. In fact, it's true anywhere where you have to rally the troops, I think. Okay? But when I see a vision, I guess, the kind of visions that don't work are the visions of, we want to be hugely profitable, or even I want to be number 1 in my industry, or the largest in my industry. Those visions, in terms of developing a winning team culture, are less impressive because they're more about maths. If you can develop a vision that is more around people and impact and emotions, you'll do a far better job of rallying a team, okay? So rather than a vision around being the number 1, work out what being number 1 means as far as impact, reach, and touching lives, and just say the same thing differently. It can still feed into the same outcome for you, but it's about how you language it. You need to have a vision that is compelling. And when you've got a vision that's compelling and it talks about how the world's a better place, or how you change culture, or how you're impacting lives, once you've been able to distill that down, you're going to get far more buy-in from yourself, from your team, from your customers and your suppliers, all right? You've got to have that compelling vision that says we as a collective group of people are chasing down this outcome, okay? And as soon as it becomes a metric, I think it loses a lot of its power, okay? It can be a number, but it needs to be a number that actually matters to people, a number that actually changes lives, like I said, or impacts lives, or makes the world a better place. I think size for size sake is terrible. Number 1 is ambiguous. And so, and what's super interesting about being number 1 in your industry, some of the largest businesses in the world that have been big businesses for hundreds of years are going under now at the fastest rate. So size hasn't mattered. Time in business hasn't mattered. Blockbusters and those guys, they're out, 40, 50, 100 years, some businesses. Toys R Us gone. And so, those things just tend to not matter. But if you can get one that is centered around human flourishing, then you will probably do well and do a better job of rallying the troops. So you've got to have that compelling vision. Number 2, clearly defined roles. Now, let's just talk about that one for a minute. Every person on your team needs to know what they're there for, what the outcome is that they're chasing. When you're a small business, 1 to 10 employees, you kind of probably have a culture, and this is a good thing. You have a culture of all hands on deck, whatever needs to happen. So everybody's a little bit nimble and they kind of do a whole bunch of tasks. That's okay. Ultimately, we want to get to the point where you have, a documented role and description for every single person that says you do this and you do this and you do this and you do this. And that allows everybody to know, it allows you to see that everything's getting covered with no overlaps or gaps, and everybody kind of knows their role. But in the early years, or in the smaller period of time, you will need people to be a bit more flexible, and that's okay. When I say a clearly defined role, I mean that you clearly explain to your team, setting them up for success, what you expect from them. So that doesn't mean that you do this role. It could be that you're on this task or you're on this project at the moment. They could dance between projects, but on this project, this is what my expectation is. This is how I want you to do it, okay? Clearly defined roles. That basically sets them up for success. If you run and achieve these outcomes, then we will know that that is success for you, okay? You and I will both know that if you do that, that's success. You can do that on a project by project basis or a task by task basis with your team. What this does is it actually lets them know that they know, that you know, that they know that they've just got to achieve these things, whatever they are, and then they're going to be okay. And it stops the conversation in their mind around, whatever, am I good enough? I don't think I'm valued here. I'm not contributing. All those things that, typically might make a person quit their job. It stops them having those conversations because it's like, hey, this is what we want you to do, and this is how we're going to measure you, and you can just run at that. Okay, and it stops all the ambiguity. Most people don't quit because of pay. Most people quit because of bad managers or bad leadership. And so this is just getting all of that out in the open and making things super clear. All right, the third point, if you want to have a winning culture, is to grow your team as a person, not just a profit center. We're talking here about actually caring for people, believe it or not. You know, back in the old days when you worked for somebody, the boss was the boss. You know, it's like, you work for me, you do what I want you to do. You know, you should be lucky you've got a job here. Well, that worked post-war when there were no jobs. That doesn't work in 2019 where there's 40,000 jobs for every employee. All right, you've got to care about them as a human, okay? And kindness has to come back into the equation. Obviously, we want them to be a profit center. Obviously, we want our team to do good work and contribute to the business and contribute to the bottom line. We obviously want that. What I'm talking about here is you can have that, but you can have that through kindness. You can actually have that by treating the people well. So, for example, for me, I want people that work with me when they finish to be better as a person, not just in their role. I mean, they're probably going to get better in their role anyway, but I mean that I want them to leave better equipped, more knowledgeable, happier, whatever, more money than they came to me with, all right? So I want to know what makes them tick, and I want to invest in that along the journey. So, for example, let's say a team member comes to you and they're interested in investing in real estate, just pick something random. Then I kind of see that it's my role as the leader to help them flourish in that area. That could be as simple as buying some books, giving them a saying, hey, listen, you're in real estate, here's a good book, you might want to read that, or here's a course, or here's a YouTube video I found that you might want to watch. Finding out what makes them tick and investing in that. A couple of things are going to happen. First of all, that's kingdom, because they're going to leave better than they came. And that's got to be our goal with team members. The second thing is they're going to feel so valued and appreciated. And remember, this is not a tactic, it's the right thing to do. They're going to feel so appreciated and valued that they put in discretionary effort. They're going to go the extra mile. They're going to do the things that matter. And of course, that's going to be reflecting in you and the business and the profitability, okay? We've just got to, like, I know so many business people still who are like, well, all team are, terrible and, they've got to earn my trust. Or, yeah, you know what, I'll invest in them, but I want to see them suffer it out first. Great, but you'll just burn people. We've got to get to the point where we just flip it on its head because it's the right thing to do. Just invest in them. Find out at the start of the relationship what motivates them and what makes them tick, and make it part of your job to deliver that to your team in some way over the time they're with you. Obviously, this gets a little bit tricky if you've got 100 team members or 1,000 team members. So then you've got to have an infrastructure to be able to deliver that. Maybe somebody is employed as the heart officer in the business to be able to facilitate that on your behalf. They're loving the people and caring for them. Maybe you find somebody in your business who's got a pastoral gift and you, anoint them to be able to go around the business and do what you need to do. It doesn't matter how you deliver it, but you've got to be interested in the people. When they say they're interested in this, you want to grow them in that area. That may mean that they're intending to leave you. And that's okay too. All team members are going to leave at some point, or you should at least think they're all going to leave at some point. Okay? And then you've got a job to do to make sure that they leave better than they came. I think that's an obligation of kingdom. I think that's an obligation of being a brother's keeper, and so forth, right? We need to make sure people are growing while they're with us, and certainly not dying. And treading water. Treading water would be terrible. If they work for you for 36 months and they leave and they haven't grown, man, that's a tragedy, I think. So business is a great opportunity to help them grow. Point number 4 is we need to reward them. We need to reward them. And, I'm not a huge fan of, the standard annual pay rise. Not a fan of that at all. In fact, I would never go for a standard, like every time there's a review, you get a pay rise. I'd never be in for that. It's always got to be on merit. I'm really not a fan of the standard Christmas bonus. Like some businesses are like, well, every year I give my team $300 each. The problem is that after they've had that once or twice, in their mind, they're already factoring it in their pay. They just expect it. They're not going to put any extra effort for it. They've already spent it, and that doesn't really get you a great result, right? So I'm a big fan of rewards for activity. They could be team, right? So, for us here, last 90 days, we set a reward, we set a target for the quarter, we hit it. We set a reward that said we would go shooting. And so once we hit it, we went down to the shooting range, got these massive rifles and, put loads of holes in paper around through the range and stuff like that. And that was heaps of fun. This quarter, when we hit our 90-day plan, we'll be going on a jet ski safari and, spraying each other and getting sunburn and stuff like that. So that'll be a heap of fun, right? So there's those rewards. And you've got to have those, right? When the team are rallying to achieve the vision, there's got to be rewards. You can't live in constant sprints without coming back, regrouping, rewarding, and then going again. So that's important. And then, of course, there is random rewards. When you see someone who does a great job, find a way to reward them. That could be a random gift card. It could be the $50 handshake. It could be whatever it is for you. But find a way to randomly reward your team for effort. It lets everybody know that you reward effort, and then the tide rises and all ships rise at the same time. You've got to have rewards. It cannot be, in 2019, it cannot be, suffer, you should be happy for your job. You can have that mentality, but you won't attract the best people, and that's what culture does. All right, number 5. Constant communication. You would do well to have a structure in the culture where nobody feels left out. This doesn't matter whether you're introvert or extrovert. This has got nothing to do with your own personality. This is to do with building a culture that sets people up to win and a culture that people want to come to work to. If you have a constant feedback, and that could be starting at the top. That's a 6-month annual review where you run through the position description and the KPIs and check they're doing a good job. That's a given. I would assume we're all probably doing reviews in that way. I guess I'm talking here about more feedback loops during the day-to-day operations. Okay, maybe it's a maybe it's a quarterly meeting, maybe it's a monthly meeting, maybe it's a weekly meeting. Here we all get in the boardroom on a Monday morning and we go around quickly. What have you got on for the week? What are you excited about? What have you got on? Da 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 da. And then we break and we go and we try and keep those short and tight and get everyone back to work. But we have communication and it's a safety net so that things don't fall through the cracks and we can catch them before too long. Okay, so having that, and then also I'm a really big fan of the unplanned quick chat. Walking past somebody, hey, I want to check in with you. How is the project? How are you going with that? Is everything okay? Having a 2 minutes, 3 minute conversation, checking, whatever. If they've got any grievances with what they're doing, they can air them and you can go and do something about it. They feel valued. You got the skinny on what's going on and you're in the scoop and everybody just feels a little bit more valued. That's a little bit harder to do as a business grows. If it grows, you've just got to have a strategy around that. Maybe you go, maybe it's, I'm going to go to this department on Mondays, or this department on Tuesdays, and this department on Wednesdays, and just go and speak to some random people and put it in your diary. You'll be amazed at how the team feel especially when you've got a big team and they could feel like a number when they actually get a little bit of one-on-one time and heard, they get listened to, they feel great. So you've got to have that constant communication loop. It's easier now with things like Slack and instant messaging within businesses for you to just jump in there and say, hey guys, appreciate you. Hey guys, great thing on that. Hey guys, whatever. And then you never want to create that culture of I'm the boss and you're the employees and you can't come to me, because that will just foster an environment where they'll leave before they come to you because they would rather do that than break that rule. Or you're creating a culture of kind of lying and deceit because they'll sweep everything under the carpet so it doesn't get to you because you're the anointed one. You just are rewarding bad behavior if you do that, all right? So you've got to have that constant communication. And then number 6, this one is it's very different to what we're talking about here. But when you find somebody that is not fitting your culture, you got to release them quickly. Yes, fire them, right? Step in my office, you're fired, right? If you want to build a great business over a long period of time, you're going to have to hire a team. And if you're going to have to hire a team, you're going to kiss some ugly frogs. You're going to have some people across your path that don't fit the culture, that are too prickly, that overpromise and underdeliver. That is a definite, okay? And remember, we're talking about a culture here. The fastest way to ruin a good culture is to keep bad people. The greatest way to enforce a great culture is to fire the bad ones quickly. Remember, I've said it before, it's not the people you hire that ruin your business, it's the people you fail to fire. So when somebody's gone bad or going bad, keep short accounts. Sit with them and say, hey, listen, that's not okay. Your performance is down. We don't want that around here. We're a performing team. I don't just want to fire you. I want to give you some grace. Here's where you are. There's where I want you to be. Here's the milestones. Let's have weekly meetings. Let's get you from here to there. So you give them that track to run on. But if they can't make it, then get rid of them. It will make everybody else lift, because when the team members who are performing and adding to the culture and improving the culture see that you're that serious that you'll let somebody go who's bad for the culture, everyone steps up, right? It's a really cool thing. So just, we live in a world now where it's become permissible. You can sack someone and still go to heaven. It's okay now. So, you can do that. Now, you don't need to be rude. You don't need to be abrupt. You can do it well. You can finish well, but you can also move them on, and that would be a good thing. So, in terms of developing this kind of culture, if you have those 6 things in place, then you'll win. But here's what I would say. Just because you put those things in place, it doesn't mean that a culture stays good forever. Any time where you're not intentional about these things, another culture will creep in. It always does. And that'll be a culture you don't like, and it'll be toxic to some degree. You actually have to think about these things and affirm a positive culture, okay? So for example, whenever we have a team meeting on a Monday or a leadership call with our presidents or whatever, I'm bringing back our goal. We are working for the business people that want to go and change culture. We're trying to change culture. We're rallying the troops. We're an army of entrepreneurs who are funding projects. I bring it to the forefront of nearly everything. By the way, not a tactic, just comes out of me because of the vision. And it helps everybody rally behind that, all right? It's the constant chats, it's the constant communication, it's the clear direction and clear boundaries. When you have that, by the way, if this was your culture and you intentionally built that, and you did send random messages to team members that say, really appreciate you and those things, and you give out rewards, if somebody slips through the cracks and they don't want to live by your new culture, it becomes really obvious real quick. It's almost like a light gets shine on these, the bad performers, because everybody else has stepped up. When they step down, it's really obvious. And then sometimes they just self-select themselves off the island. They're like, I'm out. I don't want to be here, which is great. Sometimes you have to move them on. But you need to intentionally decide the culture and intentionally build it and intentionally keep it. Otherwise, it will erode and it'll become a little bit more toxic over time. And before you know, you'll look back and it'll be a very different business. The reasons why we want to work on culture is, one, it makes it a more fun place to work for you. It makes it a more fun place to work for your team. But second, third, you will attract the better team. The better businesses with the better cultures attract the better team. The Virgin brands of the world, the Apples of the world, those major brands, they're not groveling around for staff. They put an ad out that says we want this, bang, everyone's in there applying, and they take the cream of the crop and they employ them. That's the difference that culture makes. People will actually take a pay rise or slightly different situation or not live with their best if they can be part of a culture that they love and a vision that they love and feel like they're contributing to mankind in some way. So if you can bring that into the culture, you will attract the best people, achieve better results, and life will just be better.